Awesome. This is Invoke-WhateverYouLike, and it's basically, I think the subtitle was, I don't even remember what the real subtitle is on the program. I changed it to I Love PowerShell. I know I'm probably not the only one in the room, but yeah, that's what we do, right? So, quick, who am I? You can find me online under the alias SAT Processor or Walter Legowski. I was born in France, I live in Holland, and I work for a US-based company called SpectreOps. I work a lot of Bloodhound, so I know some of you were here yesterday for the Bloodhound talk. I still have a few stickers for those who didn't get any. I have 3 kids and a cat, and I love PowerShell, I love PowerShell, I love PowerShell. I didn't know what to put, so I guess for a PSConf, it's good. The agenda for today, I'll start with a quick introduction on what is PowerShell. And for that, I've got a special guest who will be featuring. And then we'll do Don't Be That Guy, Object All the Things. A little help goes a long way. Do you even parameterize? Ain't nobody got time for that, and smoke the pipe. If we have time. If we have time at the end. Yeah, and that's it. So what is PowerShell? I wanted something really powerful for an intro, and I didn't know if I could come up with that myself. So I kind of called Jeffrey Snover, and I asked him, what is PowerShell? Shellfather, please tell us. And this is what he told me. It's a bit of a thing, so I'm going to read it for you. PowerShell is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dull thing with PowerShell is preferable to doing a dangerous thing without it. Think about that. To do a dangerous thing with PowerShell is what I call art. PowerShell is the difference, a way of doing, a way of being done. I think that kind of summarizes better than I would have, so thank you, Jeffrey, for showing up. And yeah, that's a picture of me that one time I wrote this massive automation to kind of swap a whole flop of server to IPv6. I had no clue what I was doing, to be honest, technically. But the point here is that with PowerShell, they asked me, can you do that? And even before knowing what it was, my answer was yes, I guess I can. And with the right specialist around to guide me, I was the guy who could do the code. And the moment I press enter, and I see all the verbos going one by one, and it's all good, and at the end it's finished, and we're done before the close of the maintenance window, and we're already in the restaurant having a drink. This, for me, was art. And the fact that I can do that, I'm just like you all, but it's just PowerShell gives us that power that we feel we can tackle anything. So that's my point with that one. Is anybody in the room fully new to PowerShell? Maybe not. You're at a PowerShell conference, right? I just want to give that little gift to the people maybe watching the video online who are starting with PowerShell. If this is your first adventure, maybe that tells a bit of my age, but I guess here you would get the reference. So it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and we get our PowerShell Triforce. The get command, get help, get member. And these are very basic commands, but with this, and only this, at the prompt, I have the feeling I can do anything, because I can look up my command, I can find help on how they work, I can see how the object is structured. And so when building commandlets, we also have to be very careful to fulfill that contract for the user, that our commandlets answer correctly like any other commandlets to those 3 very basic commandlets. And yeah, if you remember this, PowerShell will teach you all the rest. So it's one big thing for me. I think PowerShell is my way to learn a lot of stuff. When I have something I never did before, I start writing code. And then that kind of formalizes my knowledge of it and makes it immediately repeatable. So PowerShell, in those many years, has taught me a lot of things. Now, you guys were cheering 5 minutes ago. I'll give you the opportunity to boo somebody here. Don't be that guy. Don't be this guy who was guilty in his use of using unapproved PowerShell verbs. So go ahead. Do it. Boo me. Boo. That will break the ice. I'm stressed now, so that will break the stress. You booed me now. I know you hate me. We're good. Yeah. It's very basic, but again, for the discoverability of PowerShell, if you follow that contract, you use the correct verb and this verb-noun syntax, this will help discoverability for the people using your commandlets, basically. Demo. They said they wanted all demos, so we do demos. So this, or maybe bump it up. Oops. This function, Mike will do. So I work in security, maybe less in the admin world, but in security, people tend to write their tools a bit like the Linux way. So less following the PowerShell convention, and that kind of makes a blockage to use it with everything. So instead of writing your function and giving it a cool name, you have to use this verb-noun syntax. Here I'm using verb-noun. Verb is not a verb. And it's all about discoverability, right? So you guys probably know this, but if you do the get verb, you will get the list of all the verbs that are approved. So don't be a bad boy. Use one of these, and then you get, the explanation on what they do. But so when you're building your module, you have to think, okay, I'm going to be using those verbs. And that's base one. So you can get them by group. You can look at them by letter if you want. Yeah. And that's what I mentioned. So if I just run this one, verb noun, doesn't matter. But immediately I can get my command with my noun, and it's part of the whole framework. So that's super basic. But if you follow that, immediately your commandlets belong to the whole ecosystem that we're working with. And of course, you can use aliases, do stuff like this. So how does that work in a real example? Let's say I'm working with virtual machines, and hey, I'm at PowerShell. I don't want to open Hyper-V. What can I do with VMs? So an easy way would be to, it's F9. Remove that. That's how I start usually. Get command and whatever. And I see that already for a VM, there's a lot I can do. And now we have this verb noun stuff. So you see that actually VM group, all the nouns start to make sense. And I can say, hey, VM replication, what's that? So I would get command VM replication, see that I can get, set, and so on. So you start to discover your powers from the prompt immediately. And that, for me, is a big plus compared to any other framework where the man page do exist, but they're all very different, right? So get command, get VM. Get is a safe verb. So usually I start with get dash noun and an asterisk to see everything there is. And you do see here already, if you didn't know what to do, you can start to dig into each commandlet. And if you want to see more details, what are the nouns, how many commandlets use that noun. So yeah, just for a simple module here, Hyper-V, it gives you a good description. And we'll talk a bit about the get help later where you can see all this. So when you're building a module, you have your nouns, and they kind of refer to the objects you're going to be juggling with. And you have, what do I do with them? And this already gives you, okay, these are the commandlets I'm going to be building. So super nice if they have this same noun, and you can find what you can do with the rest. So here, if I was to run this, and again, a new user could get command my cool object and see that on this cool object, this is what I can do. So again, try to fulfill that contract when you're building commandlets. Number 2, object all the things. One thing that I really don't like is PowerShell commandlets that output a flob of text. Like we're supposed to read the output at the terminal and like it's 1980 again. PowerShell is an object oriented language. So you have to output object, and everything is an object. So for example, if we get the date, we get a nice date here. But actually, if I use this get member from my PowerShell Triforce, you see that, you can get the description of the object, all the properties. So one thing to remember is that what you see on the terminal is not the object you're manipulating behind, that's passing in front of you. And that's something that I know tips off some new users, that they see something on the terminal, they don't find the property. So what you see is not necessarily what you're manipulating. Same thing here with the process. So I can get my processes. I get a nice list of running processes on my machine. For one object, these are actually all the properties. So there's a lot more properties that we don't see and that we can tap into. And then if I take one, maybe I need to put my star here. I want to take all the properties of the first one. This is the real object you're manipulating. So something to keep in mind, there's more than what you see that's actually passing behind your screen is the full object. What the screen shows you is a human representation of that object. So I've got a little quiz here for you, playing with the Triforce. Get command, get help, pipe to get member. What would this output? Anybody? Take a guess. I'm looking at you, Bartek, if nobody answered. Let's run this. Yeah, what?
Everything the command is made of, like where the command is.
So everything is an object. So if I ask for get command, get help is what I'm asking the command for. So I get the object representation of a command, and then I'm asking for the members of that object representation. It's just to have fun with PowerShell. It doesn't mean much, but that's when you do that. Here on top, you can see that I have a commandlet info type of object that I'm passing. Now we pimp it up a bit, we spice it up. What does this one do? Get command, get member, pipe to get member, pipe to get member. You can go down the rabbit hole quite deep. This one actually will output the, I went too far. The member definition. So I'm getting a command. So this is a command object. I'm asking for the get member. We have the same type of commandlet info. And then I'm asking for the members of a commandlet info. And they're actually, again, objects. And they're a member definition object. So every time you go down on an object and you ask it, it's an object again, and it's always object until you get maybe to a point that the object you're having is a string. That's fine too, but it has to be an object, right? I did that already, I think. Yeah, get date. So get date is the greatest example of this one because it has a default human readable display name. But if you actually select all the properties, these are all the properties you can have on a date object, and this being kind of the default display type. This I did already. So yeah, always output object. A lot of folks in the security industry, like I said, do it the Linux way. It makes it very complicated because then you have this whole flow of text. You want, I don't know, to grab a SID out of there, you need to pull out your eventually select string, start to make a regex, and we're all like, oh, I don't want that, right? You want to dot into your properties. So again, even if your object is a very simple string, why not output it as an object with the value, for example, as a property? Example of this, I'm going to do not good. Oops, I should have done that. Out not good. So here you see I have my date and time being displayed. On the display, it looks like, yeah, that looks like an object, but it's actually not, right? There are two strings, whereas here I would do the same thing. The output will look roughly the same. Out good. And if I run that, you do see that this is an object, right? So now I could eventually, this is a bit of a risky thing I'm doing. I'm a super bad typist. I'm going to type in front of you. But I could do something like this and immediately dot into my properties. So that's where we want to get to. Like I said, it's okay to output a string, especially if that's what your commandlet is supposed to do. I don't know, give me a greeting, return hello, that's giving me a greeting, that's fine. But in most cases, you want to output object, and hammer this one to anybody online starting to build tools. Do not output multi-line text. This is like killing PowerShell folks in their own heart when they have to deal with those commandlets. And there's actually some very used module, like the AD internal has a few of the commandlets that output text. I find it complicated to work with. The next bit would be a little help goes a long way. And here we touch on the third commandlet of the Triforce, the get help. I think this is the one we use. I use a lot. I often need help. So when building a commandlet, actually you should start with this little stub of something so that you remember to come back and to put those examples for the user, give it a description, a quick synopsis. There's more you can put, but that's my minimum survival kit for the help to be functionable. And so if we run that, that's the only bit of code I had to write. But if I run it and then I ask for help, oops, you do see that there's a lot already that's being done for me. And again, your commandlets that you build start to look and feel like something that's fully integrated into the rest and that the users can use the way they're used to. That's a lot of use in the same sentence. I had no choice. Oops. I should be using this instead, right? That would make it better. The online help, so that's a feature I see less being used, but that's also a super nice one. If you add this little line, if you add that line with a URL in your commandlet binding, then you get, oh, did I do the wrong thing? Oh, I don't have internet. Let me sort that. Should be good. So let me run that again. So load my function with the help. Oops. And then if I ask for the help online, it takes you directly to that page. So that's a super quick and efficient way of referencing any external documentation you have, and that make it accessible directly from the prompt without having to go Google for anything or like, I need more help online, boof, and you would have maybe more. Or you can take it to your GitHub with a README, or you can take it to anything, but at least that it takes you to a place where I can start digging again without having to exit my prompt too much. The next one is the parameter help. So this little bit of line that looks like nothing here is also super important. So there's other ways to document your parameters. I kind of like this one because as I'm writing my code, I can start to put my parameters, a quick description, and then start to put the meat on there. But at least it gives me my structure. These are the parameters that I want to use. And so if we run this, just to show the difference, oops. So here in the, parameter description. So PowerShell does the whole job for you. You gave it a parameter and it describes it for you. But this little bit of info here can be very useful to the user. So that's the place in code where you would achieve that. And just writing that help stub and this kind of gives you this whole man page. So the very, let's say, tedious step of documenting your code, PowerShell actually does that for you. If you put a few things in the right place, then suddenly you get a full man page, and that's what we want. The next bit here would be the yo bro, do you even parameterize? So this is referencing, I can show you that. The validating the parameters, getting error handling for it, basically. If you're going to expect an integer, you say it's an int, but if you want a value between 10 and 20, you can validate range. That avoids you having to write a code later that the user gave 30, and you have to, if parameter not equals, then you have to write code. This can all be done with those simple validations, so I'm not going to go too much in the details for this one. I'll just reference an old talk of mine. Walter Legowski, yo bro, do you even parameterize? I think Bartek was also sitting in the front row for that one. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah, in this, I go in more details into all the snippets and all the validation you can put in there. So maybe not for you guys, even though you came to a full room, but you probably all know how to do this. But yeah, that's also where I think PowerShell makes it very easy to define what you expect as an input for your commandlet and to validate that without having to write basically any code, right? You just declare them, and that kind of triggers your validation. Because yeah, input is always dangerous from customers. Do I have anything running here? I don't know. We'll see. The bit here that I want to highlight, at least in my method, something I noticed over time, I used to kind of write scripts and then transform these into commandlets. So I kind of already have the code and I added what makes a commandlet to it. Now I do it the other way around. So I know what objects I want to talk. I group them in verb-noun. I have this. I can start to see a bit the graph of my commandlets. I structure them like this. And then before I write any code, I work on my syntax. And I want the user to be able to say it that way. That's what I get. And before writing any code, I will check my help. Let's do this one again. Do I have something running? Oh, yes, this. Okay. That's what I wanted, actually. But this part is where I'm going to focus the most. So here I don't have various parameter sets, but if you have several, this is where I'm going to make sure my parameters are in the right order, and then it speaks out the way I want. Then I start to write the code. So I often have a whole module, or the whole skeleton of my module ready before I put any code in there to do it, actually. But I just want to test the verb-noun, the syntax, that everything flows from the command line. Once I'm happy with that, I will start to add the easy part, let's say, so the code in there. But yeah, building your syntax is where you should spend or I spend at least the most time. And it's actually the part I enjoy the most. So you don't have to be writing code, but I want to build this Bloodhound modules. There's so many API endpoints. And you can be under the shower even. I have great ideas on, hey, I'm going to do this. And then at some point you go back to your code. So now I spend less time in front of VS Code, more time under the shower when writing modules, because that's the place where the kids won't interrupt you or anything. So you have this train of thought and you can really maybe, I don't know, I know I'm not the only one. I noticed that a lot of people say they have their ID under the shower, and I noticed it also works for me. I don't know why. Anybody else? Am I the only one? Toilet? Okay. Yeah. Yes, why not? Sorry. Ain't nobody got time for that. So once you have these commandlets that fulfill all the requirements, verb, noun, super descriptive parameters and stuff, we want to come back to the user. I'm a lazy typist. I think I'm known for using dangerous one-key aliases. So you type something, enter on my keyboard, you're probably going to execute something anyway. That's just for efficiency. Again, when you write your commandlet, full verb noun, full syntax, very long parameters, that doesn't matter. We've all seen commandlets with super long parameters. Doesn't matter, they tab complete, but at least it's explicit when you see it, right? Again, comparing this to the Linux world, grep dash small c something compared to grep dash capital C. Already grep, if I'm not from that planet, I have no clue what it does. Small c, blah, blah, blah. So again, PowerShell for that. People who hate PowerShell would say, yeah, it's super verbose. It's like, wow, do I have to type all this? No, you don't. You have to type 2 letters and hit tab. So tuck, 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 tuck. And it says what it says. So if my mother reads my code, she could almost understand it. That's scary because my mother is really not technical. So again, a great thing about PowerShell. So here, what you want to do for your user is give aliases. And the example I take here, very simple. I have a commandlet with a super long invoke function with super long noun, and I alias it to long noun, and that works as well, right? So again, here the tip is make it long, don't worry about that, and then give an alias for the user. So when you're writing a script that you're going to share with someone, it's all full verbose so that when they read it, they fully understand it. When you're at the command line, you don't want to do that. So you want to be shooting fire, and that's with your aliases. If you have long parameters, you can do the same. So I'm just going to do that quickly. I use that a lot, I'll admit. So my example long param is actually the same than get my example parameter with a very long name. So again, do the two. It's not one or the other. It's, hey, let's have both. It's even better. Output type. So that's another one you can put in there to kind of give tab completion to your user almost for free. If you know what type of object you're outputting. So here I have, again, a dummy commandlet. Supposed to output whatever, so that should work. But the beauty here is that because I declared an output time of datetime, after my where, I will have tab, oops, maybe not here. Let me do it downstairs. VS Code doesn't get that. Get my example, and then where, date, date time, day of week. So nothing is enforced here. Nothing prevents me from outputting a string. He doesn't really care about that, but he's going to tab complete with your where, with your select. All these commandlets will tab complete on the parameters you declared for output type. Little hacky thing here, you can even declare several output types. If you have a command list, then you will tab complete the parameters for all of it, but yours is in there. So if you type 2 letter and tab, then you will have it. So again, it's a free, it costs 1 extra little line of something, and it gives functionality. So don't skip on those important bits. And again, if you don't have it, well, I could, if I output a string, I could output string, and then I would have property length, for example. So that's not fantastic, but why not? That works as well. And then last but not least, the pipeline. So smoking the pipe is one of my favorite things. Because you can do stuff at scale, right? Suddenly my commandlet works, and it accepts all what another commandlet outputs will be the input for that one, and I will output objects on the other side, and I can start to make those super kung fu pipeline combo commandlets that we all love, but it's like super efficient, right? Get a flop of object, do this on the whole flop, and push them back somewhere else. So that's really the bit here. Sorry, several ways to do the pipeline, so I'll just show one here. PSConf, you get my example. So you see I'm passing it over the pipeline. That's your value from pipeline. The second one would be value from pipeline by property name, where here I'm tapping into the exact property of an object and catching just this. So let's do that one. I'm passing a dummy object that has a greeting and a target property. And if I pass over the pipeline grabbing on the greeting property, you see that I immediately grab that value from my object, and this would be done for each object. Now, the cool trick about this is that you're passing one object over the pipeline, but you can catch multiple properties if you need. Why not? So here, for example, I'm catching two properties, and I'm using an alias here to rename one. So that's something also, doing it that way around. So when you want to change the name of the property you're catching over the pipeline, you can use alias to the name of what you're inputting, and that will automatically switch it to your two here, you see. So when you're grabbing objects from different source, maybe your commandlets accept different objects that have a property that doesn't have the same name. You could even put two aliases here to catch the same property on different object and name it to one. So it's a super hacky, quick way of grabbing these over the pipeline. The one little trick with the pipeline is so the object enter in the process. So begin will run no matter what, and then your objects will only input here, and it will accept it every time. So I could pass several, even though here I'm only allowing after the pipeline one type of greeting. So if you want to deal with the pipeline and be covering both aspects, this is what I end up doing in all my pipelines, I think. So I accept whatever type of object, but multiple of them. So if I'm passing them after the pipeline, they will still be handled as a collection. And I do a process for each object in my input, and then do something with the object. So that's the process for each object in input. And then the square brackets here will cover all cases of me having several objects to deal with the pipeline. So let's try and run that one. Hello world, and if I pass them like, oops, it's not the same. So that here works in both ways, the exact same way. So that's what you want to get to when you're building the pipeline, that a user that would pass the collection after the pipeline has the same experience than he does it before. Though I think when you have a pipeline, usually you pass it before. That was it for my demo. I see I went a bit quick. So I wanted to do more in the parameters, but I thought I wouldn't have time since yesterday I went over time, so I referenced my video. I'm not going to watch it with you guys here. I hate watching videos of my talks, but it was a good talk, right? Thank you, Bartek. So back to my slides. That's, that's what I had. Because it was such a great intro, I used it again as an outro. Take time to read it again. It's quite deep. It's poetry. The Shellfather is also a digital poet. He wrote this stuff called the Monad Manifesto. It's poetry. You can read that. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, you kind of all knew all this, right? Yeah. Super basic. But then you had to come to my talk yesterday. I had more content there. Less. Thanks to the sponsors, to the PSConf for having us all here. Have a great time. I'm finally going to relax now. My talks are done, so the weather is nice. We're going out tonight. Looking forward to it. And if anybody has any question regarding maybe not this, but Bloodhound, please feel free to ping me tonight. I'll bring my laptop for demos. Hi to the kids again. And thank you for attending.